One of the things that we find very easy to do is to put money on our credit card, which means, we go out, we spend money, but then when it comes to paying it back, we find it very difficult to do. There is a psychology and a habit forming pattern that we find ourselves in, and we repeat this over and over and over again. And before we realize it, we already have, thousands of dollars on this credit card, and we're on the hook to pay them off. Now, how do we get rid of this burden, and how do we do it as quick as possible? Well, I'll be sharing that with you in this video. If you're new here, my name is Steven, and on this channel we'll talk about finance and investing. So if you're interested in that, consider subscribing to the channel. 64% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And you guys know what that means, and you know what that feels like in a situation where you're looking forward to your paycheck so that you can pay your bills. That is not something that we all desire. The other important statistics here is about 45% of Americans do not even have $1,000 to cover an emergency. And this makes sense because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, then how would you have money to save to be able to cover an emergency? As we stand right now in 2023, our credit card balances is over $1 trillion. And that is just mind-blowing because most of us, on average, our credit card debt is way more than how much we have in savings. And if you think about all of these numbers that I'm sharing with you, you'd see that there's a problem in the way we look at our finances and the way we spend and the way we also save. There is a quote, and I'm going to read it to you. It says here, debt creates stress. Stress creates behaviors that don't lead to happiness. Now, if you think about that for a second, one of the issues that we have is when we spend so much because we are too eager to want to buy, we want to acquire things that we do not really need, we end up spending the money that we do not have, and then we then have to go and work to pay this debt off. What are the benefits of us being able to get rid of our debt and pay off our burdens? If I put it that way, the first thing you have to consider is it leads to more, happiness. Think about it. If you do not have to live paycheck to paycheck because you haven't acquired things that you do not need and you don't have this burden of finances on you, then you're able to be less stressed, which you become happier if you are not stressed. The other thing to this is you are actually able to build your financial future, because if you're able to clear up the debt that is pulling you back, you're able to build your credit score, you're able to save, you're able to invest, and you can then plan for the future. Most of us do not want to work forever. Most of us do not even enjoy what we do for a living. And that means that we're trying to find a way to either find a different job that we would enjoy, or we're trying to find a way to pretty much save as much as we can so that we can exit that job and do something that we enjoy doing, or something we would enjoy just experiencing or seeing, or maybe traveling. All of these factors can be the benefit of you getting rid of some unwanted debt. Now, credit card debt is one of those that you do not want. There are some debts that are okay. No debt is good in a long term because there's a price we pay for carrying those debts, even a mortgage, by the way, even a student loan. At the end of the day, it would be nice to have those things paid off. But there are some that are very bad and very bothersome because of just the consequences in terms of rates that we have to pay on this cards, especially like credit cards. Payday loans, another one. So the benefit also continues to being able to plan for unforeseen circumstances, right? If you are able to work on your finances and you're able to save, then you can plan for unforeseen situations in which maybe you get sick, you got into an accident, a minor fender bender, a flat tire, and you have to change your tires. Things of that nature you're able to handle better without being stressed, without being worried, without having to rely on a credit card. So I'm going to share with you the 5 tips here. First one is we want to begin with a habit. And I am focusing on an habit because if we focus on a habit, we're able to change the patterns in which we operate. Okay, if you think about an operating system, there are certain rules that they follow. It's the same concept. Same thing with human beings. Our brains and our minds would operate on certain rules. And one of those that we need to change if we want to see the results when it comes to spending is the habit of using cash. The reason why card can be very easy to pull out is because, well, we don't have to really think through it. We pull it out, we swipe, and the money is gone, right? But in reality, there's a price for that money that you're spending. And that is why it is recommended that you use cash for some of your purchases, at least. Of course, if you're buying a car, you have to probably do a wire and things of that nature, right? But when it comes to your everyday expenses, going to grocery shopping, buying things that you need, try to use cash. That way you're able to control your spending and you do not overspend and you do not get into credit card debt. If we want to see a major change in anything, let us change our habit. The next point here is, of course, we have to find a way to spend less than we make. If you make $1,000 and you spend $1,000, then we are unable to exit this rat race, right? But if we make 1,000 and we only spend 500, that means we have 500 left to save and invest. Sometimes the problem isn't the spending part, it's actually the income part, which means if you're not making enough money to cover your normal expenses, then the problem is an income problem right there. So that means you have to work on your income, try to improve that, or at least get more money, or find a side also that you can do to make more money so that you can then have extra. While you're working on paying off this credit card, do not invest and try to avoid saving large chunks of money. Think about it. If you're trying to save and you're paying off a high limit credit card or high balance on your credit card, the issue is that you are trying to save money, but then your savings is only going to earn you maybe 3%, at least in this current industry or current market, whereas your credit card is charging you almost 20%, and there's no way you can make up that difference by trying to split the money. It's better you pay off that credit card first before you consider the saving. If you have multiple credit cards, then you should focus on the ones with the high interest rate so that you can pay them off as soon as possible. Now, the other alternative to this is, if you have multiple cards, why don't you consolidate them into a personal loan? Or another option is to actually find a credit card with a 0% intro rate, and then you transfer the balances into that card, and maybe for a year you have 0% rate on that card, and you work aggressively to pay off that card. And like I mentioned, alternatively is to get a personal loan at a flat rate in which you are able to pay at a lower interest rate. The last recommendation here is, do you have friends or family members that can actually lend you some money at 0 rate? Most people will do that for you, considering hopefully that you have good habits with your finances, or at least you're turning around and I can see that. They might be able to lend you 1,000 here, 2,000 there, and you just pay them back over time. But at least that money is given to you and you use to pay off that credit card, and you don't have to deal with the expenses of carrying that debt. And the money that you hold to them isn't accruing any interest, which means you just need to give them back as you make money. And I hope that you do that, because if you don't, well, you can come back for help next time. Well, I hope that you have found some value in this video. If you have, please give the thumbs up, and also if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. I look forward to seeing you in my next one.